I just recorded a whole video and forgot to turn my mic on. You think you know, but you have no idea. This is the diary of It's Me, Lori.
Jersey is naked.
Lori V1. What's up, guys? It's me, Lori. I'm gonna try this again. Let me get some tea because I just told a whole damn long ass story with no mic on. So I did a collaboration with 3 other ladies whose channels I will link down below. We decided to do a story time about sex and relationships, and I'm going to get real personal with you and tell you the story of the time that I lost my virginity. This is obviously a very personal story and it's sexual in nature, so if you are too young to be hearing this stuff, please click away. If you're a parent and you don't want your kids to be around when you listen to this kind of stuff, you know, do your thing. But I basically have wanted to talk about my first time on this channel because I think that it is important in general to get the truth of what first times are really like out there, so that young people or even older people who have not yet had sex can get a better, more realistic idea of what it's all about, and not these like lies from movies and books and stuff like that. So the story of any first time has to come with context, and you have to know the kind of teenager that I was back then. You guys, if you watch my channel, know that I'm a pretty open-minded person. I'm very into sex positivity. I don't think sex is a bad thing. I don't think it's a taboo topic. But when I was a teenager, I was raised in a household where there was like a no boys until 18 sort of rule. That was how strict my mom was. I was basically born with a sense of rebellion though, so I broke those rules as soon as I could. Not that I lost my virginity very early, actually I didn't, but I was very boy crazy. I crushed a lot, I talked to boys on the phone, I like lied about where I was going, I did all kinds of crazy stuff, all so that I could be around the boys. My first boyfriend was when I was 14, and when I say boyfriend, I mean that in the very loose sense of the word, because we never even kissed. We went to different schools, so we talked every day, but we could only see each other like once a week or something like that. And the first time he tried to kiss me, he sort of leaned in and I saw it coming and freaked out, so I turned my cheek and it landed on my cheek. He was actually really nice about it, and he told me not to be embarrassed. He said that he wouldn't pressure me and that he was willing to wait, and he said that he loved me, so that was cool. And we actually ended up breaking up before I ever got around to being ready for that first kiss. And all of this is important because out of respect for him, since he was such a great guy, and because I did have serious feelings for him, I didn't want to just go and make out with any guy, you know what I mean, that came into my life next, because I just didn't think it was right that I never even kissed him, you know what I'm saying? It was just a matter of principle. For the next few years, I did see other guys, I talked to other guys, I still didn't kiss them, as I said, and it wasn't until I was 17 and I met an older guy who was 22 at the time, and was just like, I was totally infatuated. He was tall or older guy, college man, about to graduate I think, and just generally had really intelligent things to say, and I was just really like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this guy is talking to me, you know what I'm saying? And he knew that very well. He sort of played to my like naivete and said all the right things. Eventually got me to go over his place. He had an apartment in the city, and let me tell you, this was the first time I had ever been to anybody's apartment who didn't live with their parents. So it was like a straight up bachelor pad. I think it was a studio. And when I walked in, I kid you not, the only furniture he had was some weights in one corner, a TV in another corner, a table, a chair, and a futon. And he had a sink that was like full of dishes that were like 1.5 feet above the rim of the sink. I mean, it was kind of gross, but that was his place. And in my 17-year-old mind, I was just, my heart was pounding, you know, I didn't know how to react. I just wanted to play it cool. And the only place to sit was like on his bed. He was just super sweet that night. You know, he leaned over and before you know it, he gave me my first kiss and we were like making out. And that's it, obviously. I mean, it was my first kiss. Did you think I was gonna lose my first kiss and my virginity in the same night? Anyway, I kept talking to him after that. We were not dating, officially boyfriend and girlfriend, which was a very sort of unexpected thing for me, but was probably my first experience in compromising for a man because I was into him. And I was very much into this man. So soon after that, I went to college too, so I was close by. Kept going over his place, and to my sort of dissatisfaction, the relationship never progressed. However, our physical activities did, and he sort of got a little bit further every time, like sort of convincing me like, oh, like let me, you know, put my hand under your shirt, and then like let me take your shirt off, and like every time it got a little more, and eventually we moved on to oral sex. And I was like not very happy with this, not because I didn't want to do it, but because I always just kind of imagined in my head that things would be a little bit more romantic, and it wasn't. But I was very eager to please this guy, and I was just like, whatever. And in general, the whole sort of experience was very educational because he was teaching me a lot about what he liked, but he wasn't paying a lot of attention to what I liked. And so the whole experience to me was just going over there and doing what I thought he wanted and hoping that at some point we would get to be more than we were. That of course gradually built more and more, and he actually moved to another apartment somewhere else, and I remember it was in that apartment where we were finally like totally naked around each other and, you know, whatever, and he got into a position to actually do it, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this. And that was the day I became a statistic. He basically said, don't worry, I'll just put it in a little, which you and I both know is not a thing. Like it's not in a little, it's either in or it's not. And I knew that at the time too, but before I could even protest, I was in this compromising position and we were already doing it. So that happened, and I kept seeing him for a while, and I even remember confiding in my girlfriend not too long after that I just didn't think I was the kind of woman who likes sex. If you guys watch my channel, you know that I very much think that sex is a good thing. So it's actually quite hilarious that there was ever a point in my life where I thought that I didn't like it, but that's what I thought, you know. He did this weird thing where he would like pinch my nipples, and it was very painful and not stimulating at all, but he wouldn't stop doing it, and there was just a general disregard completely for anything that pleased me. It was sort of all about him. And luckily I eventually stopped seeing him and moved on and discovered, you know, things about my body and like, you know, how to enjoy sex, and all my perceptions have changed since then. I'm sharing this very underwhelming story precisely because it's underwhelming. I think it's important to get like real first time stories out there so people can stop listening to these lies about how the first time is supposed to be so magical, and if it isn't, they're somehow doing something wrong. I think that when people put too much emphasis on the first time, or even just on sex in general, it kind of colors everything in their lives and all of their relationships. Dating when you're trying not to have sex actually end up being more about sex than not. If you're an adult already and you feel comfortable making decisions for yourself, if you haven't had sex yet, then all of your dating life becomes about whether or not this person is good enough to be the one to have sex with the first time. And that's not a healthy way to approach people that you might want to spend, you know, a significant portion of your life with. You want to really get to know that person. So how can you get to know them when everything they say you feel is like a form of manipulation and trying to get you to give up your virginity to them? I mean, it's a lot of pressure on both sides. So though it's probably good that we are trying to instill fear into our children and telling them that, you know, the first time has to be with someone special and all that stuff, at a certain point that should really just fall away, and people should just realize that sex is an enjoyable thing that two consenting adults should be able to do, and at some point you're gonna have to get that first time out of the way. It could be good, it could be bad, either way it's not a huge deal, and once you get beyond that first one, then you can have the second one and the third one, and you can learn all the things that you enjoy about your body or about, you know, another person. And when you date someone, you can have sex, and that could be part of your relationship, but you can also explore them otherwise. It won't be just about how many weeks have we ticked off before it's okay for this guy to come into my house and like see me naked, or, you know, how many, you know, it just all of these sorts of pressures that as a society we expect people to place on the act, and an act that is really supposed to be natural. Let me know what your first time was like. Was it magical? Was it comical? Was it good or bad? Let us know, and definitely check out the other Storytime videos, which I'll link down below. See you guys next week. Bye.